Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3.
Well, welcome to My Whiskey Den tonight, where craft whiskey is king, and we are lucky enough to have the guys from 45th Parallel on our show this evening. They are up in New Richmond, Wisconsin. Paul is the father, Anton is the son, and you guys even worked your grandfather into the game at one point, so I got to tell you, I absolutely love the story, just kind of pulling the whole generational thing together. So we're really lucky to have you guys here. What are you guys drinking this evening?
We're kicking it off with some Wisconsin wheat whiskey made at 45th Parallel Distillery.
It's a soft whiskey. We bottle it at 96.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah. There's softer stuff out there.
Yeah. I know. Normally we bottle at 92, and it was just too soft at 92.
Yeah. Well, I want to say hi to a couple people in the chat. Ed from Rock Reviews here. It's good to see you. Aaron, nice to see you. Icehouse, always good to see you coming in. Wheels, thank you for stopping in from the East Coast, and a special shout out to your sister who is celebrating her 21st birthday today. Hopefully you have something good to give her and she doesn't get stuck with White Claw or some weird thing that you would get. Hopefully you have something good to give her this evening. So cheers to
Fireball.
her.
No Fireball. Fireball bad.
Don't do that. Don't do that to her. Let her friends do that to her later tonight. That's on them. Mike and Ben and everyone in the chat, what are you guys drinking right now?
I'm having the Jay Canary Bellefontaine.
You guys also distill at your guys' place as well too, along with a few other things.
Yep. Yeah, we'll be bottling it pretty soon too.
Nice. Ben, what are you? Oh, did you mute us because there's chaos in the background?
Yeah, you never know with this household. Got the anniversary blend from Jay Canary.
Okay.
So right now, yeah.
I'm finishing up a sip of border bourbon that I put in there. But like I said, thank you guys for stopping in tonight and spending some of your hard-earned free time with us rather than like taking a break and actually being out on the patio drinking by yourselves and enjoying life. We appreciate you stopping by and talking with us. First off, Paul, I was just wondering for each of you, what it was your kind of whiskey background or distilling background. Did you have one before you decided to start the distillery, or was it just you jumped into it because you were excited about it?
I had no background. I had a degree in history, and I owned a landscape company. My wife said I work too much, so I sold out my half of the business and was a stay-at-home dad. And I was trying to think of something creative, but on a manufacturing level. And I started reading about distilling, and I was surprised that nobody was doing it. Nobody in the Midwest basically was doing it. Mm-hmm. And nobody in Wisconsin, nobody in Minnesota, really nobody in Illinois. And so started looking into it, found out the only reason why nobody was doing it is really nobody had thought about it. Mm-hmm. So we planned it. So we were probably the top in the first 450 small distilleries.
Yeah. I remember you guys had like a good vision for it, right away for it, guys. Even as you guys started, like we mentioned with Jay Canary, you guys kind of did some contract distilling for other people and stuff, probably to keep stuff moving and kind of keep a nice cash flow going rather than just, I don't know, sometimes some distilleries are kind of focused on just themselves and they lose out on an opportunity to make money other ways. And everyone you guys seem to help has some really good results too. So that's always saying something excellent about you guys doing your job there.
We're in a different location. We're not like most small distilleries. I'd say 70% of their revenue comes from foot traffic. People come through their building and buying stuff. But we're in a small town, and we don't have a lot of tourism by us. We're in an agricultural area, so we were able to really just focus on production. I met Joe a long time ago when I first started up in Kentucky at a conference, and he just remembered meeting me. and he gave me a call. He knew that we were familiar with corn, and he said, "Well, if you can make vodka from corn, you can make bourbon." And that's how it got started, and that was okay. So we got paid to learn how to make whiskey.
There's nothing better than that as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to maybe get paid just to drink whiskey.
Yeah. And what made you want to start 45th Parallel? Or was there like an in particular turning point or moment, like as you were kind of pondering it or bouncing around your head, that kind of gave you the clarity to be like, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I was kicking around a lot of different things. One time my dad said, you'll never work for anybody else. So I had to start my own business again. And I picked up a bottle of Tito's, and that was way back in the day when nobody knew who Tito's was. And I saw it said 5th generation on the back of the bottle. I said, oh cow, these guys have been doing this for a long time. Then I just found out it meant 5th generation exit. But he'd only been doing it since '98. And I was like, if he can do this, and he's only been doing it a few years, I think I can do this. And then I picked up another bottle of another company called Shakers. And I looked at it, I said, I can do that. And then I told my wife, and every other idea I gave her, she shot down. But when I told her this one, she just said, huh. And then the next day, there was a book about vodka sitting on the counter.
She didn't take much convincing, huh?
What's that?
She didn't take much convincing, huh?
No, it was just, I think it was about 24 hours, and she was sold.
Wow. You have a wonderful wife, because I was going to say, but like you said, like she did leave a recipe. This is what I would like you to make at this distillery.
Yeah, she's cursed me a few times over the years because it wasn't always easy.
No, that's awesome.
That kind of reminds me of the story. There's a distillery local here in South Carolina that kind of got started. Guys sitting around a tailgate at a football game, sipping on moonshine. And they're like, you know what? We can make something better than this. And so they get started. But the only way he got his wife's blessing was if he would make something that she could drink. And so they developed a whole whiskey that was specifically targeted to be easy sipping for her. So,
yeah, well, my wife said that she wanted me to make rum, but that was 13 years ago, and we still don't make rum.
So she's patient.
Yeah.
Someday. Soon enough.
Our fermentation tanks have been tied up with whiskey. We're 7 days a week. We can't, we're booked.
Oh, yeah. And you guys you're kind of expanding because of that right around now, aren't you?
Exactly.
How many square feet and everything are you adding onto the building?
We're adding on about 8,500 right now. And we're at about 20,000 that are production right now.
That's pretty solid. And I think we were talking before the show, you said that kind of the stuff you're adding on now is event spaces for people as well, too.
Yeah, the last few years, almost all our investing has been into production capacity so we can make more. And we're using that. Now that we're set with capacity, we can make a fair amount of whiskey every month. And we do a fair amount of contract stuff. That's financing this part. We wanted another part of revenue. We wanted to diversify our revenue intake. Mm-hmm. We're building a space that we can make money on our site. We got 5 acres there, and it allows us to bring in people. They can tour the place and spend money there.
Nice. And that's where a lot of people are kind of going anyway. So I like that you're doing that. Plus, you're making like a little event center for the small town for people to go do stuff. And we always think that part of the whiskey is a little bit of the tourism now, where in the past it wasn't as much. So where now it's a stop for people when they know a distillery is out at some place. So it becomes like a tourist destination where 5-10 years ago it was just something you knew was there and you try to go find a bottle. But now it's the reason to go to lunch there. It's the reason to go have a tasting tour or sample. It takes up half your day. So I'm glad you guys are kind of expanding in that direction, because everyone should get a chance to taste some of the stuff that you guys are putting out. You get some really nice stuff.
Appreciate it. 10 years ago, people, they would come by. They thought I was crazy that there was a distillery there. But now people are looking for distilleries. Everybody knows of a distillery not that far from them.
Mm-hmm.
So we do get people from out of town stopping in. Hey, we've heard about you guys. We want to see what you do.
So for people who are unfamiliar, and I can't get your whiskey in my area yet. Hopefully that'll happen.
I sent you some. I mean, it got to you magically. It didn't get in there in the mail or anything.
You didn't say that out loud. But what's your current whiskey lineup that you guys have, and what styles of whiskey?
Well, right now we have we're kind of meat and potatoes. We do bourbon, we do rye, we do a wheat whiskey too. We have different variations of them. We're starting to finish the bourbons and the ryes in different casks: sherry, port, cognac. We have 100% rye that's going to be will release next year when it hits 5 years. We have some like Asian grain or heritage wheat whiskeys that people, German varieties that some farmers are growing for us, and we're making whiskey out of that. So they're just putting these crops in, and we're using the whole crops towards our wheat whiskey. So that'll be out next year too. We have some Irish style whiskeys that we played with, and single malt.
So you really are expanding, and covering the whole gambit of whiskey at least. And I'm like we said, I'm excited about the single malt. I'm excited with everyone's kind of thing like that. The rye you mentioned too sounds interesting. Plus all the finishing that you're doing, that's another lovely technique that kind of adds layer of complexity. And I love cognac finished whiskey, so I'm sure that's not going to be a problem for me on that one.
What about a peated Wisconsin whiskey?
We haven't done any peated whiskeys, but we've done some smoked whiskeys. Okay. We get a lot of large agriculture outfits that come to us, guys with a lot of money and deep pockets, and they want us to do something with their crops. And we have some guys with some indigenous corns, and they smoke them. And it is pretty cool when we distill stuff like that, where we mash it, and the whole place smells like what you would think a peated whiskey would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So grain sourcing, are you guys looking mainly local to where you are? Or are you having to pull, outside of Wisconsin some, or is you trying to keep things on a local basis?
Everything is, for our products, when we make our stuff, it's all from one farm, just down the road from us.
Okay.
Obviously, when we get malts, we have to go somewhere else. We tend to go.
Sure.
We go to a malting facility in Wisconsin. There's a lot of large malting facilities near us. The biggest one in the world is not too far away. It's in Minnesota, and that's the Rye malting facility, and that's pretty close by. So we have good access to it. But when an egg outfit comes to us and they want us to produce something for us, they like us to use their grain.
Mm-hmm.
So then we'll try different stuff.
Sure.
Getting people to pay you to use their stuff. No.
It is kind of nice to learn, getting paid to learn different things.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if people are coming to you being like, we have this stuff, and you get to see how it turns out, and it's not like, well, how you seek them out. They had to make it all for you, and hope the crop went well, so you can put out the whiskey you want to put out that year. But yeah, now when we were getting into the grains, and you said most of them are local as you can there. Have you guys always used large 53-gallon barrels, or did you guys use smaller ones at one point in the history?
Our very first barrel was a 30-gallon barrel. But then since then, it's been all 53s for us. We've tried a couple small barrels because a barrel company will come up to us and say, if they're going to give us a barrel, we're going to stand at it. But generally, we're kind of traditionalists. All our barrels come out of Missouri, Ozark White Oak. I give a shout out to McGinnis Wood Products. They're out of Cuba, Missouri. They make great barrels. We're very, very fortunate to have them because they don't have very many small customers, but we were able to get into them a long time ago because I did a favor for somebody down in that area, and he said, here's my supplier, and they stuck with us. They have a couple small distilleries with them. And
it is, we've had some other whiskeys that came from them, and they do a nice job with the aging the barrels outside, letting all the tannins get out of them a lot of times with being
Yeah,
2 or 3 years.
3-year air dried staves, it's hard to come by.
Yeah, and then but that makes all the difference when you're trying something, especially like in Wisconsin. There's a lot of times you can put out, or you guys sounded like you don't put anything out till 5 years, but sometimes you can get away with the rye, in that 2-3 year mark, depending upon the type of barrel that you use. But I was just gonna say, I'm impressed that you guys wait for 5 years on everything. That's, I don't know, that's pretty good, because I was gonna say there's got to be an urge to sell some of it beforehand, but waiting for it to hit the right notes you want it to hit is very respectable. But
Well, it wasn't always that. I mean, we had to make money at one time. We started out at 2.5 years, and then we worked our way up to 3, and then the 3.5. What we would do is we would release one barrel, and we'd lay down 5. And so it allowed us every year to get up. And then when we hit 5 years, we realized that's a big turning point in a whiskey, and we don't want to go back that again.
Mm-hmm. We found that 5 years, especially for like a bourbon, makes a huge difference.
It does.
Between like a 2 year and a 5 year, those 3 years make a dramatic difference in what you're getting out of it.
And to be perfectly honest, the consumer they're not tolerating young whiskey anymore. They, 8 years ago they did, because there wasn't a whole lot of, varieties out there. But now they're, consumer, they have a lot to choose from. They don't want a young.
And especially with like those green notes and stuff you get from it, like you said, from a non-air dried barrel or a kiln barrel, like you can tell right away that you're getting some of these other funky notes that aren't so enjoyable.
Yeah.
Let's see. Now, you guys, like I was saying at the beginning, you guys have like a whole kind of family lineage to it, and I know your dad's not with us anymore, but I think you kind of gave your dad what a lot of people would like to give their dads, is when they get into retirement, they get that extra excitement to come back and do something.
Yeah.
I did with my dad for a little bit, and I think that it obviously means a lot to them to be a part of something. But was that the way it was for him? Was he like happy that the phone call you're waiting to get when you're kind of in retirement, where you're want to find that extra thing that makes you busy again?
Well, my dad was different. My dad was an immigrant, and so he came here, from after the war, and they had nothing. And so, so to see his family go from one generation to the next, where they could actually build a business, that was the thing that was exciting to him, to see, the family build something.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Let's have a little heat there. Now, you guys, like you said, you mainly make just the whiskeys. What other liquors do you guys make at the distillery?
We make the clear spirits also. We do gin, vodka. We do a fair amount of Aqua Beets, which makes us a little bit different. That's another contract thing.
Okay.
Gentleman he spent time in Iceland and in Denmark, liked less caraway. He wanted dill forward.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't buy a dill Aqua Beet. He came to us and asked us to make it. So we make about 7 or 8 different varieties of Aqua Beet from a dill base. And they're pretty interesting. The bartenders love it. And then a couple Russians out of St. Paul asked us to make some horseradish vodka. And so that's kind of interesting too.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I don't know where I'd land on that one. I'm kind of in between, because I like a little bit of heat and different unique stuff and something like that. But I was gonna say horseradish usually isn't my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually sounds really interesting to me.
There's like bloodies at all?
Had a shot, yeah.
We had some of the horseradish vodka at Distill America this last year.
Did you?
I don't know whose it was. I can't remember. I'd have to look the thing up. But yeah, it was like, yeah, Steve's being a Bloody Mary.
They were right next to us.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Eugene. He's the owner of that brand, and he owns a restaurant called Moscow on the Hill in St. Paul.
See, now that more more of the things to travel to and check out. But
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, we had that. I think I looked at Mike too, and I was like, yeah, this is a Bloody Mary all day. Like, I almost wish there was like a little Bloody Mary bar off to the side of where he was pouring it. I'm like, I'm just gonna mix my own.
If you want the best Bloody Mary, you put a little bit of the dill aqua beet in there too.
That sounds like
okay.
it would work out really good.
All right.
Taking notes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. People in the chat take notes.
I've been
notes.
writing that down. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's some fantastic stuff. I like how you guys like you're helping when you're going to shows. You already know people you're kind of working with, and you're supporting a lot of people in the industry just by what you're doing. It's not just by yourselves. So I really respect that. And you guys were also doing that a lot with the hand sanitizer recently. I know you guys were producing a lot for yourself, but a lot for other places. So you were helping a lot of communities. And I really commend you guys for kind of putting the halt on everything and kind of turning around and pushing out that much hand sanitizer and kind of helping everybody that you could.
Well, we got a lot of help too. In the beginning, we get people would send us links about hand sanitizer, asking us, "Hey, can you do this? Can you do this?" And we thought about it, and yeah, we can do that. And then a company would call us up and say, "Hey, how can we help you make hand sanitizer?" And they'd start donating containers to us. Another company donated labels for the containers. Then we had, graphic artists. Then we had a large chemical company, to donate a supplier to us. Say, hey, that's how we were able to help out other distilleries, because we had a large amount of supplies that we decided to distribute to other distilleries throughout the state.
Yeah, and actually the very first time that we decided we were going to do like a little giveaway to the public, we're just like, oh, put it out there. They can come up that day. And then it turned into some post that got about almost 70,000 views and shares and everything. So then it ended up being way more than we expected.
Yeah, there was a mile long line, and literally a long line to get hand sanitizer. And then we had every sheriff's department within 50 miles. We had people driving 2 hours, counties,
Oh yeah. I had people down from Kenosha area up to Duluth, Minnesota, and it was kind of all the way. Actually, people out in Illinois too drove all the way out.
And we were just donating it, and we thought we were giving it away because we didn't feel right charging it. But people didn't want to take it for nothing, so they say, "We'll say, oh, you can donate $10 for a gallon, so we can make the next gallon." Yeah. And then people just start dropping $100, just mailing us checks, 100 here, 200 there, and it made to where we didn't have to worry about what was going on right now. And that was just, people were more than willing to contribute to the.
It's nice when people are ready to kind of make that full circle. Now we've ran into a couple other people that were doing the same thing, and it almost seemed like people were trying to get their hand sanitizer as a collector's item. Like they were trying to collect all the distilleries' hand sanitizers. And it was a really weird feeling, but then we kind of noticed that people were legitimately doing that. Like they were trying to, I want one from each one that did this. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I'm gonna buy your whiskey before that, but I mean, if I'm trying to collect a set, that's not gonna be where I start. But I'm like, it was kind of the cool niche thing, and like you said, you had people coming from 2 or 3 different states all around us to get it. Not that they don't want it, but I feel like that was part of it too. Is you want to have something from there, and if that's all they can do, you want to support them. So you guys sound like you have an excellent fan base of whiskey drinkers in your community. So
yeah, when COVID hit, we thought, well, we're going to take a huge hit. We can't open our bar anymore. We can't do tours or tastings anymore. But people started coming in for hand sanitizer, standing in there and they're looking at our shelf and they're saying, I want a bottle of whiskey too. Our sales out of our bar went up 40%. Wow. We couldn't even serve a cocktail. It's just people buying bottles as they're picking up their hand sanitizer.
That was actually going to be my next question, was how many people got introduced to your distillery and your whiskey just coming for the hand sanitizer?
Exactly. I would say most of them.
Yeah.
The majority.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's a great way to kind of turn it around. And now they'll probably be coming back as things when you guys start to open up for full tours and stuff like that again. But it sounds like you can at least have cocktails there right now. Am I correct?
Yeah. Wisconsin opened up quite a bit, especially our part of the state. We're more of in a rural area, and but we have a really small barn because we are really set up as a production facility at this point, and so it's pretty tight. And my staff really doesn't want a whole lot of people coming into the distillery. Right. So what we say is, you can come into this room and you can buy a bottle or pick up your sanitizer. But if you want a cocktail, we got a patio. You can sit on the patio. That's what we're doing until our next building is built.
I don't think anyone's going to turn that down. That's what you're going to want to do in Wisconsin anyways in the spring and summer, is sit outside. I don't want to be cooped up inside. We only get 3 to 4 good months in that section anyways.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to lose that. Excuse me. What's this is I don't want to say it's not the best. So what's one of the whiskeys you're most proud of producing? It might have been the time you put into it, how you figured out the mash bill or grain or something on it. Just one that you guys are really proud of actually putting out. And they don't have to be the same one for each of you. They can be 2 completely different things.
I think the thing that I enjoy the most is probably the tawny port finished bourbon. That's something special.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think the Wisconsin wheat whiskey, because I'm not that aged in drinking. I'm only 23, but at first I really didn't care for the wheat whiskey, and now it's like 5
Well, we have a 6-year release.
Once I hit 6 years, it's just my favorite by far. So I guess that's one that I just went completely 180 on, and that's why I appreciate it. So,
no,
yeah.
We understand that completely. There's been a couple where we've had it, or I've had it when, say, the beginning of my journey when I started learning stuff, and I was like, ugh, I'm not. Who would drink this? And like 2 years later, I came back and I was like, maybe I just had a bad bottle. Like maybe maybe I ate some bad food before I tried this that day. Because this is really good. What the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah, you can't. Everybody's palate's different. If somebody tells me they don't like something, I'll usually have somebody else try it, just double check it.
Yeah.
No, that's always a good thing to do.
So, what whiskey do you want to make most? But each of you.
I would say, some malted whiskeys. I think that's the future. I really do. I think American malt is the future. I think you're going to have about a couple hundred distilleries probably that are going to really be making some good stuff in the next 5 years. And it's not going to be one. It's going to be one in every state at least. It's putting out some good stuff.
I guess I love a good scotch, so I can't really deter from that too much.
No,
honestly, just the other finishes as well. Though, we have never done the sherry before, so that's something I'm probably most excited out of anything to try out. Because I just got to smell the barrel when it was empty when we got it, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be really cool." Yeah,
it's always nice when you can figure out something like that. You're like, "Oh, whatever we put in here is going to be great."
Yeah.
Actually, I'm really interested in how that. Have you guys drank much 100% rye?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We've had a few different ones that were 100% rye.
Mm-hmm.
My issue is I'm not a huge fan of black licorice.
What?
Some of it, like there are some ryes I totally love, and I don't mind it in all of them. But there's some, if there's that's too powerful for me, I'll just be honest. No, it's not my thing. I know there's people whose it is. It's just not mine.
It was just such a pain in the butt to make in the beginning. So, it was a learning experience.
Yeah.
Was it part of the mashing process that was a little more of a pain with it?
The grain it coats the still.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't even know what's happening, and then all of a sudden you start getting that pressure release valve going off, and steam's going all over the place because the steam's not transferring into the mash because there's a coat, visible coating on the inside of the still, and then just the mash is foaming, expanding over the fermentation, spilling all over the place. But we've gotten better with some of the enzymes, and it's a lot easier now. But in those first couple of years, it was a learning curve.
There's always, I was gonna say that happens quite a bit. Bennett was wondering, where does he buy the merch for your company? Is it from Anton?
He might happen to be a high school buddy of mine. So.
I wonder if that was a little bit of trolling there.
Yeah.
But,
get it out of the trunk of the car, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
They know where it is. It's hanging up in my room. So.
But you guys do probably sell some at the distillery as well too. I figure shirts, hats, shot glasses, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Shirts, hats, flasks, glasses, everything. So, yeah.
Cool.
We don't have a huge merchandise. If you ever come to the distillery, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. We got an expansion going.
It's only a little trip away, so that's not a tough thing for me.
Right.
Now for them, they have to like plan a trip and stuff, and we may make that happen with them at some point. But there's probably a possibility to be out there later this year, especially when things even open up a little bit more. So, oh, excuse me.
So Anton, was this a natural progression for you to kind of jump into this business? Just something as you saw your dad take off with this, you had real interest in, or was there kind of something clicked there with you?
When he opened this, I was in like 5th grade, so I wouldn't say naturally at the time.
Yeah.
But I remember it was like senior year of high school. I just walked to my parents and I said, "All right, what do you guys want me to do?" I wanted to go to college and I wanted to figure out what degree works best. And they said chemistry first. And I said, "Oh, Iowa State, actually. That's where I went."
All right.
And I said, absolutely not to chemistry. And then you threw out something else.
I said industrial engineering.
Oh, yeah, no.
Marketing next.
Yeah, marketing and business in general. So I said, all right, I'll wing it with those, and went with business and did marketing management. So, and then literally about a week after graduation, I was working full time at the distillery. So, yeah.
All right.
Now with marketing, how do you find it with there being like so many different platforms to have to get your information and stuff out on? I mean, just with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and there's probably 5 new ones that I don't usually keep up on because I'm starting to get old and don't care as much. But
for the most part, it's just Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the moment is what we're utilizing. I've been kind of working on a brand new website because, we are expanding. We're also putting up a new facility in Stillwater, Minnesota, which is a new little tasting bar and small production facility as well. So kind of tying in Minnesota and Wisconsin rebranding around that focus. And so I guess that's been more of the project than anything. But also another thing bouncing off of what we talked about with sanitizer was the amount of social media following was exploding because of that. And that's made it a lot easier since then.
Yeah.
Because everyone needed it. So they were sharing it.
And
so
I'm
go
too
ahead.
Yeah, he's too old.
I am too old.
Now, with your place in Stillwater, we know breweries and other distilleries, they have some hard times getting people to be able to buy bottles from the distillery. Are you guys allowed to sell like even a normal sized bottle, or
not in Stillwater?
Not in Stillwater.
That was one of the things that almost kept me out of Stillwater. We were approached to put up a facility. It took them about a year or two to talk us into it, but Stillwater's a pretty vibrant tourist town, and it's right across the river from us. So there's a lot of people from Minnesota that it's a natural fit for us. They just they put a new bridge in, and so they have a lot of foot traffic there. They got a bike path that does loop into Wisconsin, across Minnesota, across a 100-year-old lift bridge, and the distillery's right there, right by the bridge, So it was just one of those things where I knew that if sitting there looking at it and all the foot traffic, thinking if I don't do this, I'm going to kick myself for not doing this. Yeah, we can only sell 1 375 per person, but there's going to be a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's another way to kind of like get your brand out if someone's just coming through. And
Yeah, exactly.
if you're riding a bike, you're more likely to fit the 375 in your bag than you are starting to pick up like 3 or 4 bottles. Is like,
You'd be impressed
you
with
have
some
packaging.
motorcycles.
Yeah.
You could make bottles that fit in a bottle carrier. So so, but is that limitation? Is it all spirits or is it just whiskey? That's one per person.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it really stinks, but the markets are becoming so regional. So like, even though we're right there, not that long ago, like in 2012, 2013, we were voted best whiskey in Minnesota, best whiskey in Twin Cities. But now they won't even talk to us because we're Wisconsin and they have their own distilleries in Minnesota. So this kind of gets us into that market again. So we're pretty fortunate that we have 2 states, whereas most small facilities have 1 that they can really rely on.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's right before you start getting into the Twin Cities. So I was going to say, it's like you said, it's kind of chipping away at that again. Because I do remember when you guys were voted best, I think it was best bourbon in Minnesota. And I was like, well, I'm like, how close are you to the border? I was like, that was the first thing in my mind. I'm like, are they just right across the street? Is that where it is?
The part is we live in Northeast Minneapolis.
But yeah, I had some phone calls from distillers that I'm friends with in Minnesota saying, "Hey, man, you're not really Minnesota. What's this about?"
It's okay to bend things a little bit, you know. There's nothing.
Yeah. We get our dill from Minnesota.
There you go. There's your in right there.
Let's see here. What things have you guys ran into that were actually like some, besides the COVID-19 thing, since you guys have been around for a long time? What are some other obstacles you guys kind of had to get a hurdle on or go over to get to where you guys are right now?
Oh, he started up in the magic year of 2007, right before the collapse.
Yeah, and we released our first spirit in the fall of Labor Day weekend of 2007. So right before the collapse of the economy. That was a tough one. And in the beginning, we couldn't sell anything out of our building. We couldn't do any tastings. We couldn't do anything. And so it was some lean years until they changed the laws in our state and allowed us to make money on our own. That was probably the biggest hurdle.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be kind of off, especially at that time where it was you could basically had to be in with a distributor and have them kind of like you a bit to pump you out to other areas. Yeah.
There was a time when if you can't sell out of your own facility, you're at the mercy of distribution, and so fortunately the laws have changed all over the country, and that's why you're seeing the expansion.
Sorry, I was just checking the chat. I hadn't been over on that side. I didn't know if there was another question or there was an argument over there. I couldn't figure out what was going on for a second. But do you now you guys said you guys were doing a cognac and a tawny port, or a port and a sherry. You guys are doing like one of each of them?
Yeah, we've already done a couple of tawny port finished barrels, and we really liked it, so we bought some more barrels. And we decided to buy the other 2 types of barrels, cognac and sherry, also. Try them.
Now, are you putting your border bourbon in most of it, or is it your wheat or the rye, or is it kind of just like a combination of playing every so often as to what you do?
So far, it's been just bourbon, but we started putting the rye into. We put the rye in the port.
Okay.
See how that works.
Okay.
I'm intrigued by that. Sorry, I hadn't had too many port finished ones, but recently we had like 2 or 3, and 2 of them were actually made me pretty excited for what could come out of it. I'd never had like a port bomb where it had so much of the barrel in it that it almost made me forget what the actual whiskey was. It kind of freaked me out when I first.
Yeah, you can't leave it in too long. No. A few months, 2 or 3 months at the most, and Cognac is completely different than a port finish. I was surprised with the difference.
Yeah, like those two. So let me see here. Now, how many states do you guys sell your whiskey in right now? Like, besides Wisconsin?
Well, we're in Illinois, Michigan, and out east, like in New York. But really, I won't even send a salesperson down to Illinois. I won't send one to Michigan. I won't send one out to New York anymore. It's just not worth it. Okay. I mean, you spend more money trying to sell the product than you actually make off of it. And we don't have huge inventory, so we can sell it all in Minnesota and Wisconsin. We can play with other different types of finishes and sell it that way too. We can let it get older. It's just not worth it to try and expand that market when you don't have the inventory. If you do, you're gonna have to buy whiskey. We're gonna have to go and buy whiskey if we want to sell it all over the country. And everybody's doing that because that's how you have to do it, because nobody has. I mean, there are people that over the past 10 years have been able to develop inventories that can do that, but for the most part, they can't. They're gonna have to buy.
Also, my latest project has been working on setting us up in Iowa right now, because we have a family member, aka my uncle, who is opening up a cocktail bar in southwestern Iowa near Omaha. So they want to make us our main spirit, so we're going to get set up in there, get started with them, and see what comes out of it in that control state. But yeah.
It's nice to get like a bump of that. I mean, that's like where you get like little seeds of other people like wanting to come for tourist stuff or getting to know it a little bit more.
I happened to work at Hy-Vee when I went to Iowa State, so I'm hoping maybe that's a little in there. We'll see how that goes.
Emily from the chat was wondering, sorry if she missed it, but what made them to decide to do an aquavit? And does some wine go into the holiday aquavit fish every time?
It's aged in sherry casks. That's where the wine comes from. The holiday, it's just basically we take a dill aquavit. We make a whole bunch of dill aquavit. One year we used 2,400 pounds of dill making aquavit, and then we take some of that and we'll reinfuse it with like mint, allspice, orange peel. We'll distill it, and then we'll just age it in sherry casks, and then you get a holiday aquavit. If we do, more of like a anise and vanilla, and then we'll go in a combination of used bourbon casks and then the used holiday casks. And then we have what we call a celebration aquavit, and that's, I think, a bartender's favorite. Or else we just go in white zin casks with the dill, and we get what we call an aldrin. And that's pretty intense. But it's all that. The variations are just from different infusions, and then what you age in it. What type of wine barrel you put it in.
And I know she asked about what made us go into aquavit, and that was mostly, as you mentioned earlier, Mike McCarron had reached out to us. He went out to Iceland. He's from Wausau area, Wisconsin, and currently lives in Minneapolis as well. But he had reached out to us asking if we could do it. Later, they found out that my dad here actually happened to be the best man of Mike McCarron's cousin at his wedding. It's a small world. He's actually from Wausau, Wisconsin.
We didn't know each other. He came in, like I said, he moved away. He went to Denmark. He went to Iceland. He came back after a while. He was a Nordic ski instructor in Iceland, believe it or not. Cool. And then he came here and started talking, and we started realizing we know some of the same people. And then I found out, his first cousin was my best man, actually.
That does make it feel like a small world sometimes. Especially if you start piecing it together. I'm like, did you know this person? Like, how the hell did I not meet you?
I never met the guy before. Didn't know him at all.
Now let's see. Oops, wrong screen. But with what type of wheat do you guys use in the Wisconsin wheat? And if it's not proprietary, you can just tell me to shut the hell up.
You know, I really don't even. On our regular wheat whiskey, it's just whatever they're planting. But like I said, we did get approached by a neighboring farmer that wanted us to try this Red 5. It was, like I said, it was a heritage wheat, and so it's not grown anymore because it grows too tall when you fertilize it, and then it gets blown over in the wind. But the bakers love it because it's great for baking. It's easily digestible, and so I think a lot of the gluten intolerance we have right now is because of the Japanese dwarf varieties that we're growing versus these old German varieties. So we thought, hey, the bakers love it, and it's easily digestible. Let's try it. Once I was talking to the farmer, and or even I was doing some reading, and they said, the grain for distilling, if it's going to be good in our process, it's the same thing a dairy cow. They have to be able to digest it fairly easily, and they need to be consuming it. They both have the same properties. That's the type of grain that we're looking at.
Nice. That's got a nice flavor to it. Sorry, I was drinking it, so I had to ask. You know, those things pop up as you're sipping on. Someone's like, "Well, I'm gonna have the chance to ask this," but no, I remember when I couldn't get the wheat, and someone in the state had it, or had the W, and I was like, I missed it by like 3 days or something at the liquor store, and I was just peeved. I was upset. I'm like, I have the B, I have the rye. I'm like, I just need the W. I need to complete the collection. Damn it. but that one was a little bit tougher for me to find. But there's one store, one or two places now in Green Bay that have just about all three, or they kind of rotate them in and out. So it's becoming much easier to grab a hold of your stuff more frequently. I don't have the benefit of doing some of the store picks or the barrel picks that you guys have done. I have had a couple of those, and you guys have some exception, like a really nice single barrel program going on when people are going out there to pick them. Kudos to you on that, because there's some really nice barrels that you guys are putting out that aren't like not associated with this, but I mean like kind of are the special, more unique ones.
Did you get a chance to try the Ridgeview Liquors single barrel border bottled and bond?
No, I didn't. See, now you're making me upset again.
So that was last fall. It's all gone right now. But it was actually the first bottle and bond bourbon in the state of Wisconsin, and they did it as a single barrel pick. So that was kind of a cool thing at the time. And I remember I went out there, and I mean, I was really new. I had literally just graduated. I had to learn what bottle and bond was, and then went out there and did the whole tastings with them to kind of kick it off, and it was really cool. I didn't realize how big of a market it had out there too. So,
yeah, I thought that was kind of a gimmick. It's like bottle and bond. That's what we do anyway. I mean, there are differences that change in the proof, and but I thought it was a little bit of a gimmick. But the liquor store wanted us to do it, and so I said, okay, we'll do it.
It sold through about 40 cases in about 1.5 months. It was pretty crazy. 2 months. Yeah.
A few months later, a funny thing was, you ever hear of Wollersheim?
Yeah.
Yeah. The distiller over there calls me up and says, "Hey, Paul, do you guys do a bottle and bond?" Well, sort of, but not really. I mean, we've done it. And he goes, "Okay, thanks, bye." It found out that he was advertising that she had the state's first bottled and bond, and then somebody sent him a picture of ours and said, "What about this?"
So
I know Tom pretty well.
Yeah. So those ones you're like, shit. Yeah, I was gonna say I think I remember seeing that too when I was it being advertised that way, and I sat there and I had to think. I'm like, for some reason I think there might have been one or two that were before this, but I couldn't peg what it was, and I might have just walked one on Ridgeview and kind of seen it there, because I do remember a couple layouts a few times of a barrel you guys had there, and it was stacked full, and I came back like a week and a half later and it was like empty, and I'm like, damn it.
Well, they're incredible supporters and do such a good job there, so we're lucky to have them.
Ooh. Now, are you guys? What? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so with you guys, where you're positioned with doing the contract distilling, I've been asking a lot of distillers their take on where the economy is and kind of where you see this going, and maybe the impact you've got long term with you guys. Do you feel like you're uniquely positioned because of the contract distilling that you do?
Yeah, I think it gives us flexibility. We don't have to just rely on bar traffic. We don't just have to rely on distributor sales, because in the beginning our distributor sales dropped, and then the bar sales too. But we had the contract stuff that we really didn't have to worry. Like I said, we could work 7 days a week for the rest of this year, and we'll never run out of work. Wow. And so that gives us peace of mind. But then when now the distributor sales are picking back up again, and we're getting people coming through the door and buying bottles. So, yeah, I think we're probably a little bit better situated than most, just because of our diversity.
Mm-hmm. Good.
We're good to hear that, because we were hearing numbers of like anywhere from like 30 to 50% of the craft distillers could be going away at another year or so after what's going on, and I kind of believe that, because I was talking about how I thought there was almost a bubble before that happened, because there was so many new distilleries, not like breweries in Wisconsin, but like still quite a big influx of what had happened. I tried to liken that to someone. They're like, well, how many breweries do you have? I'm like, well, there's like 8 or 9 in Green Bay alone. I'm like, so there's like where you were saying it's regional, it's almost like hyper regional, like sides of town with some of the breweries and stuff. So I'm glad to hear you guys are positioned well, because you do have a little bit more space to cover and everything like that. But
you're saying it correctly, and that's the way distilling is going to go too. And that's one of the reasons why I said I don't want to waste my time sending salespeople down to Illinois or to Michigan, when if you're not strong in your own backyard, you're not going to make it 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm. This is really nice. But let's see now. We are. I guess Emily made fun of us at one point. She said, "Bottled and burn." I don't know what we missed it. Sorry, I feel like I should have been looking over there. I feel like maybe I burned myself and I didn't even know it, and I wasn't paying attention. But that's very true. We're getting kind of close to the hour mark, and we usually don't like keeping people on too much longer than that, because we know you already took time out of your day to come on. Is there anything coming up that's exciting? Are you guys having like a party or anything, or an anniversary thing going on this year? And any special releases that might be coming up?
So every year we do an annual Barrels and Bluegrass Festival. I mean, the pandemic's held me off from announcing the date, but I mean, subtly it is September 26th. As long as everything is okay by then,
stays going the way it's going.
Yep. And so, I mean, this will be our 11th annual one, and we're going to have some special releases coming up that time. I assume the sherry cask, roughly.
We always release something at that time.
I know our first port barrel one came over freeze. We always got some special release. What that is yet to be announced necessarily.
It'll probably either be the cognac or the sherry.
Yeah. So we've got that going on. And we usually have 3 live bands throughout the day. There's food trucks catering. Our event center will be open. And there's usually, last year we had about 15 to 20 vendors parked up alongside in tents and selling their stuff. So it's always a fun time. And our previous only had over 1,000 people. I mean, granted, this year I don't know if that will be okay, but
it's a large. Yeah. We have a large area. Yeah. It's a large green space. We can. Our new building is going to have 2 30-foot by 16-foot doors. Airport hangar doors. So
it's pretty massive.
Yeah. So
it's literally it's inside. It's about $2. You get a tasting glass, free tours. You get to hang out. You get samples of up to.
That's pretty. Good. Sorry, Paul. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just gonna say that's pretty crazy for that price. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
But
we were in the beginning. It was started doing it because we just wanted to invite people in and just say, hey, this is who we are. And it wasn't basically the fee in the beginning just covers the cost of the glass and covers the cost of maybe the samples. But people, if they're coming there, they're going to spend money. They just do. You don't need to charge them too much at the gate. So.
Well, and that's when you enjoy the day more and kind of you want to go back more frequently is when you've had a fun experience and didn't feel like you got kind of kicked in the teeth by what you were doing. We're looking at going to a couple other whiskey shows throughout the year, and Mike and I did Distill America, but we were looked at, was it like the ADI, and saw tickets for like $780 to get in for the day. I'm like, no, we don't need to, we can go to the distilleries all year for that. We're not going to that show. I'm like, no, it's just not gonna.
Distill America is great. That's just in Madison here.
Oh, it is.
It
I told that as kind of like one of the unsung heroes of whiskey conventions or whiskey nights, because for the price that you're getting to go there, I mean, you can get the hotel and the ticket, and you're still cheaper than like a ticket in Chicago.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
Yeah,
it's
the only show I go to. It's the only one I like to go to because then I can just see what everybody else in the Midwest is doing, and it's kind of relaxing. It's easy going. Madison, fun too.
Yeah, well, and there's like Mike and I were there this year, and we went to the media part of it, so we got in like an hour or two early, and by the time the main crowd was coming in, it was like, I think we need to go get something to eat. Like,
yes.
we'll leave, we'll come back, we'll go get something to eat, we'll come back, we'll hit the second half of it. It's kind of the way I've laid out the thing, is like go in for an hour or two, taste stuff, take a break for a bit, and then come back after you've like refueled and go back and either taste the stuff that you haven't, or get dragged around like I did to Mike. Hey, did you try this place?
Yeah.
No. Come try this. Like, oh, what about this? Oh, you weren't there. Come over here. Like, so like the second half gets kind of a little amped up with tasting is my only thing.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's how it felt as a vendor. It's like running into all the people you've met in the industry, and they're like, oh, we have this new thing. You got to try this new thing. And it's like, man, we haven't even started yet, this whole showcase, but you're kind of searching for some food.
There's nothing wrong with it, but yeah, that's a really fun one, and I'm glad I've seen you guys there, because even if it is just usually pretty regional, there are a lot of people that travel to that now from out of state and really get a nice thing. Yeah, Ben's supposedly going to show up next year. There's rumors.
Yes,
there's rumors.
Planning on it. Yeah.
In the middle of winter. That's the hardest selling point. It's like, if it was like right now, it'd be a done deal for how many people. But I'm like, do you want to come here when we only have ice rinks and hockey and stuff? And they're like, I don't know. Is it really going to be -5? I'm like, probably not, but it's probably going to be below freezing. It's not going to be.
It could be 50.
It could be.
It's what you get.
It can be brutal.
That's what I tell them. Like, that's why you just want to stay inside. Stay at the one hotel. Just go up to your room and back down. You don't have to go too far.
Yeah.
You got that wind coming off the lake on either side, so it gets pretty cold sometimes.
Yeah, it gets pretty icy. But like we were saying, we want to thank you for coming on, Paul and Anton. We really appreciate you letting some of the people know a little bit more about your distillery, and we want more people to kind of go there when they're up in that area, because you guys have some really nice releases coming up. We probably will be reviewing the rye. We hit a backlog of stuff, and we have like probably 3 weeks of filming we have to do, and we need to play catch up a little bit. So we'll let you know when that's coming out. I want to thank everyone in the chat for stopping in, putting up a couple questions. It's always good to see you guys, and we will see you guys next week. What is next week? Oh, next week is Nancy Fraley is going to be on. So stop in next Monday night. We'll be talking to her about her past history and blending and kind of getting into everything like that. But thank you guys so much. We appreciate you coming on, and we look forward to kind of stopping out there, especially if the Bluegrass Festival does happen on September 26th.
Yep, September 26th, last Saturday of September.
Okay. I was going to say, because I was looking at that last year, but I think I had a nephew born, and I didn't get to go that weekend. But it was something I was looking at. I was pretty excited because it does sound like a really fun weekend to just go enjoy yourself. So thank you guys for coming on. We appreciate everything you're doing.
Thanks for having us here.
Cheers.
Yeah.
You guys, just remember, it's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of whiskey. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.